impatient for the coming fight, and as we wait the...
Hello, greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey and from me. Today we have some rather interesting terrain to cover, so I think we should just plunge right in. And the first question is from Linda Millett. Dear Lady C, do you think that Hollywood high society will be eager to be invited to a dinner party at the Sussexes mansion? Well, that's really almost an amusing question, because the great old days of the golden days of Hollywood, where you had people like Gregory Peck or major stars who were absolute pinnacles of society, Douglas Fairbanks Sr., Douglas Fairbanks Jr., Hollywood royalty, Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, even Louis Armstrong, Joe Bushkin. You had, real Hollywood royalty, and they were all a part of high society, as you call it. For instance, Eddie Duchin, who was the famous pianist, etc., etc. Well, it's almost an oxymoron to say that nowadays Hollywood has high society, except it does have various descendants of these families and the huge stars that were. And I will not mention any names because they are friends of mine and they are sometimes people who give me information. So I won't mention any names, but there is still such a thing as Hollywood high society. And I'll tell you, even before the Oprah interview, since when you can depend on it, anybody with any integrity and position has put on their running shoes to run in the opposite direction from the Sussexes. Even before that, they were not interested. They would have entertained Harry and endured Meghan if they had to. Now they're not even interested. They don't want to receive them. They don't want to block their copy with the other royals, whether it be the British royals or foreign royals. They also understand that there is such a thing as solidarity, and that you need to express solidarity for people who have been victimized unfairly. And as far as the people I know are concerned, even before the Oprah interview, they thought that Meghan was persona non grata, but would have, I suppose they'd have put up with her if they had to. Would they have gone to dinner if she had asked them? Well, they say they wouldn't have, but the truth is they most likely would have gone. Will they go hereafter? They say they won't go, but they even might go. But are they going to have the true test of desirability, a party for 30, 50 or 100 of their closest friends to meet the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, which is the style of the invitation, incidentally, whether you've met them before or not? No, they're not going to do that. So the Sussexes would at best hereafter be a guilty secret. Rarely they would go out of curiosity, and once they were sated, they most likely would not have a repeat visit. So, next question. Virginia McKean. Lady C, thank you so very much for your very informative videos. Watching you, it is so nice to see such charming manners. And when there is so little of either these days. Thank you very much. That's awfully kind of you. I am American and I follow the royal family and have deep compassion for them these days and months as they experience such disloyalty from one of their very own and his spouse, Meghan Markle. What do you think of Meghan Markle being cast in the remake of The Quiet Man, in the starring role previously held by Maureen O'Hara? I just don't understand how she can plow through people's lives as she does and get rewarded such as this. Where is the karma? Well, my dear, the first mistake you make is in thinking that karma works, that good goes back to good and bad goes back to bad. I am afraid that life has taught me that good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people. But the key to life is that if you are a bad person, you don't enjoy the good. And if you are a good person, you will usually find a way of surmounting the bad. So it's not really karma so much as spiritual enlightenment that makes the difference. Is it an April Fool's joke? Well, the Irish Post didn't seem to think it was. The Irish Post ran it as a serious story. Now, it was a very, very good movie. John Ford won the Oscar for it. I think the cinematographer also won an Oscar for the movie. It was done in 1952, starring John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara. It's really a comedy, a romantic comedy with sort of, life lessons. I don't know how it's going to play out nowadays because, he is a very masculine man and he takes her in hand because she's extremely feisty. She is a typical Irish redhead. Well, of course, Meghan isn't Irish and she's not redhead either. I gather she's getting in touch with her father's Irish roots now for the role, and that she is evidently taking elocution lessons so that she will develop sufficient of an Irish brogue to be convincing. Well, I'm afraid Meghan does not typify Irish. She doesn't look typically Irish. All the plastic surgery in the world isn't going to make her look typically Irish. She doesn't look typically Irish. She's not a redhead, as I said, and the character required a redhead. I suppose they will make changes if it comes off. Let's see. The whole thing might not materialize, With the Sussexes, many an announcement is the precursor to zero. So, or to much ado about very little, if not absolutely nothing. So the whole project might sink like a stone. If it does not sink, well, I have to actually ask, if we're going to be as politically correct as Meghan, isn't that not cultural appropriation, Meghan? Are you not stealing a role from an Irish girl who should be cast in the role? Where is your solidarity for the sisterhood? Or is it one rule for you and another rule for everyone else? And when you're preaching, everyone is supposed to obey what you say. But when you're benefiting, everybody is to just adopt traditional values. Now, I actually think that any actress should be able to play any role as long as she's able to do so convincingly. That means if you're supposed to be an Irish redhead, you can be an American redhead. You can even be somebody who's not a redhead but looks like a redhead. with a wig, convincingly. But if you're going to be not convincing, bad casting, bad casting. But let us see. I personally would be surprised if the movie gets made. And if it does get made, I would be even more surprised if it is anything but a turkey like every other movie she's made. She doesn't have the magnetism of a star. She's not going to be able to have people flooding in to see her, even out of curiosity. People just aren't going to pay the money. So let us see what happens there. Next question. Ron K. Can you imagine the power trip these people are on to be able to instruct, manipulate, and mold a member of the royal family in the way they've been molding Prince Harry? To have him in their employ is a definite ego trip for those involved. It's actually quite sad. Do I agree? Well, first of all, I would say, you know, in business, buy and sell. If I'm selling something and you want to buy it, that's one thing. If I'm selling something and nobody else wants to buy it, that's another thing. Harry is in the employ of various people. I wonder if we shouldn't be using the word grasp as opposed to employ. Okay, better up. Mr. whatever his name is, Robichaud, I think, Alexei Robichaud. He's evidently got Harry for $47,000 if the rumors are to be believed, which is a fantastic coup. Because, I mean, he's got at least $470,000 worth of publicity, if not more. So I would have thought that's a very good deal for him. It's a good deal for Harry too, because they were able to be saying that he was getting hundreds of thousands, which it turns out he's not, poor darling. So I think it's deeply regrettable when somebody of his eminence would actually squander the opportunities that his birthright gave him as a member of the royal family to do good without being paid, and now to be scratching around like a chicken in a chicken coop to try to get himself a few $1,000s here, a few tens of $1,000s there, saying that they've cut deals for hundreds of millions, which everybody in Hollywood knows it's absolute rubbish. You know, they were, when Meghan and Harry were still members of the royal family, they were able to command a $3 million fee for the voiceover for the elephant charity, which, very interestingly enough, nobody's heard where that the money, because evidently there's some doubt as to whether the elephant charity actually got any of that money. Questions are always being asked, and nobody seems to be able to come up with an answer that says that the $3 million fee that the film company confirmed was paid, that it has actually been handed over. I only hope that we don't have shades of Amber Heard's divorce settlement here. One hopes not. One hopes that there's a genuine error. But be that as it may, yes, I think the real power trip is actually with Meghan, in fact. I don't... Oh, Mickey, you're chewing up tissues. Naughty girl. I'm sorry, Mickey's chewing up tissues. Bad girl, but he still loves you. I think the real power trip is with Meghan, who has got herself into the most splendiferously ecstatic position of just slamming all of Harry's buttons. And, you know, it's Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard, now called Montecito, and she doesn't only have the world as an audience, she has Harry as her supporting player as she trips out one bit of fallacious nonsense after another. And he either goes along with it sheepishly or enthusiastically, but he goes along with it. Very sad, very sad. The whole thing is very sad. Kim Jones at Marianne Kearns. I don't know what that means. I heard on another channel the nurse who Meghan claimed helped her with Archie's birth has come out to say that she did not. Well, that's interesting. The doctor Meghan claimed delivered Archie, it is said, was not working and on holiday. That's interesting too. I know the doctor was supposed to be Dr. Penelope Law, otherwise known as the Countess of Bradford. And I touched upon that in a previous video because I've known her husband for many decades. And I rang him up to find out if the statement that is alleged to have been put out by him to the effect that his wife Penny did not attend at the birth is true or not. And he's not got back to me. And as I have said before, his silence is eloquent because he knows what I'm phoning about without a doubt. Anyway, to resume the question, slowly the truth is starting to leak out. My son is an OB in Texas and said no doctor would agree to a home birth for a woman at her age. They would urge inside the hospital for safety concerns for both mom and babe. If they announce the baby born on Diana's birthday and name the baby Diana, for sure we will know this woman is certifiably nuts. Well, many people would agree with you, my dear, and they don't need to wait for the birth of the baby or for the baby to be named Diana or for the baby to be born on Diana's birthday. I have various questions relating to this in various guises. So if I may, I'll just sort of lump them all together and answer them, which is basically the gist of it is that a home birth is a wonderful opportunity to have a warming pan baby where a surrogate gives birth and the baby is registered in the names of its other parents. I would hesitate to make any assertions or accusations. First of all, if you make assertions and accusations of that nature, unless you can actually prove that the parties involved are actually going to be, with a sleight of hand, deceiving the authorities as to the true nature of the situation, it would be highly defamatory. Let me explain to you something about the laws of defamation. You can know something to be true, but if you cannot prove that it is true, and the party who is denying the veracity of your statement sues you, you will be done legally. So it's not enough to know that something is the truth. You have to be able to prove that what you know to be the truth is a fact. So far, yes, there is a lot of speculation about Archie's birth. There is already speculation about this latest pregnancy. There is speculation about the enormous size of the bump and already the variability of the size of the bump. It has to be said, we need to take a very measured view of things because, first of all, unless we can prove that Meghan used the services of a surrogate for either child, as long as she denies that she did so, it is not legally tenable to assert that she did so. If people wish to speculate, that is their right. If they wish to draw attention to anomalies, that is also their right. I, as a biographer, and a serious biographer, cannot give myself the latitude that the public can give to themselves. I hope I make my position very clear. The fact of the matter is, this situation should never have arisen in the first place. And the fact that it has arisen twice now is deeply disconcerting to anybody with any sense of responsibility. It is a matter of severe discomfiture for the royal family. Their reputation matters greatly to them, and they do not wish to be party, whether voluntarily or enforcedly, to what is perceived to be a deception upon the public by any member of the royal family. Whether that deception is actual or not is another matter entirely. This whole situation shows yet again why it is very important that any child in the line of succession to the British throne needs to be born with a representative of the British state present, so that he or she can watch as the baby is coming out of the birth canal, and that he or she can sign off on the fact that the baby is coming out of the birth canal. When you are royal, some of your rights to privacy are suspended because of the unique situation you occupy and the possibility that the product of your loins might one day sit upon the throne. Meghan is not entitled to privacy, nor is any other member of the royal family who wishes to have their progeny recognized as legitimate heirs to the throne and have their rights of succession to the throne acknowledged. And I think, because this has now happened a second time, that what people should be doing, instead of agitating and to get Meghan and Harry's titles taken away from them, people should be agitating to ensure that both those children were born of Meghan's body, and that there should be absolutely ironclad, irrefutable proof that both Archie and the coming baby were produced by Meghan herself. And in the absence of that proof, I think both those children should be forcibly removed from the line of succession until such time as there are no doubts about their legitimacy, and such doubts as exist are cleared up by the royal authorities. We, as the citizens of this country, have a say in who is going to become our king or queen, and it should not be any child that is the product of an illegitimate union or an illegitimate act. The child has got to be properly legitimate in all the meanings of the word. All. Legitimate, look up the meaning of the word legitimate if you have any doubts as to what it means. It means several different things. And that is what I think we should be aiming for. And that is what I think people should be getting in touch with the Prime Minister and Buckingham Palace and demanding of the Queen that she reinstate the custom that a representative of the state be present for the birth, and that it be made retroactive so that once and for all these rumours can be cleared up. They do the royal family no good. They do the British nation no good. Okay, in press terms, you could say they're entertaining, and that they create controversy and speculation, which, it has to be said, could explain why Meghan has behaved the way she has. Because we all know that Meghan is all about fame and fortune, and that she actually is more than likely very deliberately embarking upon controversial acts to create speculation and to create sufficient doubt so that people will ask things and people will say, oh, well, you know, why is the bump so big today? Why is it so small tomorrow? I mean, it's in her power, whether she's pregnant or not. It is within her power to manipulate her appearance. And she clearly does it very effectively, because there are pictures there that have been pointed out to me on the Getty website that clearly show that Meghan's bump is a very variable thing. And also her conduct calls into question. You know, the constant use of the stiletto heels, bending down when she's heavily pregnant with her knees together. These are all things that maybe, yes, she is obviously the most wonderfully unique and marvelous and goddess-like creature, and obviously has hidden depths and hidden virtues and hidden physical gifts that the average woman doesn't have. Well, nevertheless, the average woman and the average man deserve to know are those babies being carried by Meghan? And if they are, some witness needs to be there when they arrive from within her. And on that note, I will say, write to the Prime Minister of Great Britain and to Buckingham Palace if you want to have a say in this, because this is something you can do, and this is something I would encourage you to do, because all this nonsense about home births and, you know, she's a geriatric mother and she broke her heart when she had a miscarriage in July, and then by September she's pregnant again, and within a few months she looks as if she's in the 5th trimester, even though they're only 3. I mean, you know, you can do something about it. I'd recommend that you do it, especially as how recently Meghan has been proven to have a complete detachment from veracity, fact, and reality. And I will just refer you back to the Oprah interview with the many, many inconsistencies and downright falsehoods. And that's just one thing. And also, to wrap it up, I will make the point. She had to have known when she was giving that Oprah interview that what she was saying wasn't true. So it shows a degree of contempt for the public, the viewing public, that she would actually have the temerity to just brazenly make assertions that she knew were completely fallacious. Bluebird says, Meghan is saying that the rule of becoming a prince once the grandparent becomes king was being changed so that Archie would never get a title. Any thoughts? Well, yes, Meghan did imply that the likelihood or the possibility was that Archie would not be made a prince. She also pretty much stated that it was because of his color and that it was racist. Well, it's not racist, and Prince Charles has made it absolutely clear that he wants a slimmed down monarchy. Now, what Meghan has actually done, and I don't know if people realize it, is she has realized that the likelihood is that her children will not ever be known as princes and princesses because of the slimmed down monarchy. However, she is determined that I don't care about titles, all that nonsense. I was an actress, I was a great star, and I was a waitress. I don't care about all that rubbish. However, I've got to have my children a prince and princess. And all the nonsense about that they needed it for security. We need it for security. I mean, they didn't need it for security. I mean, it's ludicrous. And the cause of the colour, nothing to do with the colour. Prince Edward's son and daughter are known as Lord Severn and Lady Louise. So there is already a precedent that has been around from long before Meghan joined the royal family of why once you're a certain distance from the throne, the title of prince and princess is being reserved for the more senior members of the family. But there's another reason why there was a strong incentive to prevent Meghan from being able to utilize having a prince and princess as her children. Money. Long before Archie was being gestated, the palace was aware of the fact that Meghan was cutting dubious financial deals behind their backs. There is no way that they are going to give any seniority of rank to any child of Meghan Markle's for her to continue hustling at the expense of the royal family the way she has been to date. She understands this. She knows as well as I do, it's nothing to do with her colour, it's all to do with her conduct. But she has hoped that by playing the race card, she would embarrass the royal family into doing what she wants and what they are determined not to do, because they do not want Prince Archie at Target, a line of clothes, the Prince of Sussex at Target or at Kmart, Princess Diana of Sussex at Kmart, buy the hottest, latest dress designed by her wonderful, beautiful, talented, all-encompassing mother, Her Royal Highness Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex. All yours for $3.99. Get class, get class. And having said that, I have to tell you, I rather like some of this stuff at Target and at Kmart. They sometimes have really rather good things. So I'm not putting down Kmart and Target, because sometimes you can get really good buys there for little and nothing. But what I am doing is putting Meghan in her proper context, which is Shylock. Shylock. And to wrap it up, even if the Queen were inclined, which she's not, I gather, and Prince Charles were inclined, I gather he's not, but might be more amenable to being bent than the Queen, William has mettle. William understands the threat that Meghan Markle is to his throne. And William doesn't have any feelings of guilt the way his father does, because Charles has assumed a burden of guilt that is not actually fair, because Diana is the one who created havoc and mischief, using those children to advance her causes against Charles. I don't want to go into any of this in any depth. If you want to read what I have to say, I would refer you to the Real Diana, the English edition published in 2004 is the one that names all the sources. The American edition of 1998 does not, but it's the same book. It's just that the sources are named in the 2004 English edition. And if you buy it on the, well, certainly I don't know about in America, but everywhere else, if you buy it on ebook, the ebook, you get the English edition with an update. And I don't know about the American edition, I'm sorry. But the fact of the matter is, William loves his brother and loved his brother and has been betrayed by his brother. You do not get betrayed by a brother you have spent your whole life looking out for, and have character and not stand up straight and make it absolutely clear that a line has been crossed. I think Meghan and Harry's greatest stumbling block is going to turn out to be William. Next question. Nick Stone. Thank you again for your insight and truth, showing up these two nobodies who are an obscenity. I would like to ask one question. What is your view on the announcement that Harry Windsor will be producing a film on the run-up to the 22 Invictus Games? Is that not another example of cynically using charity for their own ends? Yes, it is. But, you know, even though it is, as long as the charity is going to benefit, that's ultimately all that counts. Had Harry not been selling himself and almost his soul in a Mephistophelian bargain to make Meghan a very rich woman, he would still, if he had any nous, be trying to get publicity for the Invictus Games. If he can make himself some money by doing a film on the Invictus Games that is going to get bums on seats for the games and is going to get backing for the games, that's all to the good. The fact that he is now going to benefit financially is, I don't want to say regrettable. It is a conflict of interest that would not have arisen had he remained in the royal fold. But they needed to make money so that any day she wants to leave, she can leave with a heavy bank account. Had she left him as a British royal in England, she'd have left with little or nothing. That, in my opinion, is pretty much the entire reason for their decamping to Hollywood. And I will make one little point while we're on the subject. If you cast your mind back to the original announcement, when Harry and Meghan beat the palace to the punch and said they had found a new way of representing the Queen and the royal family, and that they were going to be half in and half out. They weren't saying anything about how terrible the royal system was. They weren't saying anything about how miserable the terrible courtiers and all those ghastly members of the royal family had made them feel, and how they'd driven poor Megs to suicidal thoughts. No. That came later, when the Queen told them, no, you can't be half in and half out. Then they discovered that they had to leave behind this terrible, imprisoning, entrapping system. But before that, they weren't going to be leaving it. They were going to be fully benefiting from it when it suited them and when they were going to be in Britain. So they were going to be topping up their Hollywood celebrity with regal posturing in England. And the Queen kiboshed that little plan. I think it's very important that you bear in mind, because of what has subsequently happened, that neither Harry nor Meghan displayed the slightest distaste about being royal or of doing royal duties, as long as they could, on the back of that, go to Hollywood and make money. It's only when they discovered that they couldn't do that they decided that the system was terrible and they needed to be free of it. Before that, they were embracing it the way the asp embraced Cleopatra's bosom. I think we need to remember that, because we're dealing with two arch hypocrites whose command of language bears great fluidity as it spills forth fallacy pretending to be fact. So, thank you very much for listening. If you have enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe, and press the notification bell. And remember, if you want to ask questions, please feel free to do so in the comments section.